Born on a mountaintop in Tennessee, green estate in the land of the free, raised in the woods so's he knew.
Welcome to ThinkDenton.com. My name is Kevin Roden. I'm here with Bob Clifton. He's running for mayor against the current mayor, Mark Burrows, here in the May 8th City Council elections. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you.
Tell us why it is that you're interested in running for mayor.
Well, the city's in a financial mess. It's actually in a big mess. And there's nothing been done in the last 30 years to change any of the policies. And Burrows is part of that problem. So he was not opposed by anybody, so I thought, well, I'll just go again and see what we can do.
You have a reputation, at least the way the local media portrays you, as perhaps being a troublemaker, a gadfly, someone who gets in there and stirs things up. Do you like that reputation?
Well, first of all, you're assuming we have a newspaper. The Record Chronicle has, for years, been in bed with the Chamber of Commerce. So it's going to be the official mouthpiece. And so when you start asking the right questions, which they should have been doing as a news media, they should have been investigating this city, and they haven't. They've glossed everything over. They won't address the issues. Any issues they've addressed is because I've raised Cain about it. So they've called me everything. I've been everything from gadfly. Let's see, I have been a political activist. I have been a resident activist. I have been an unsuccessful candidate for council. I've been an unsuccessful candidate for mayor. And I don't know, there's a whole litany of the thing. Of course, gadfly is not such. He called me a grenadier one time, and I thought that's pretty fun. That, you know.
So what would be examples of the city in recent years squandering money from your perspective? Spending projects that you would disagree with?
Oh, I'll give you my classic pet peeve. That's our joint venture with Denton Independent School District, who is another one that knows how to count money. There's millions in the hole now. City of Denton and DISD went up north of town where nobody lives. I don't know anybody who lived there for the next 20 years. And for $13 million and something, I think it's about $13.6 million, they built themselves 2 holes in the ground, put a slide in there, and opened a park, which ever since has lost over $1 million a year. So now we've got six point something million for the city of Denton and 6 point something million for DISD. Now, this is taking money out of the left pocket and putting it in the right pocket, or taking it both out of both pockets. It's still taxpayer money, Denton taxpayer money. And they built that pig in the poke out there that has lost $1 million a year since it opened, and it's been open since I think 2003. So it's lost about another $7 million. This is squandering it. And they put it out there where it can't be utilized, and I think part of it, there was an underlying current of racism, which I really believe there was, because we have this wonderful pool over here at the Civic Center, which is now a renamed park due to Mike Cochran. And they put that natatorium out there, of which the only way you can get to it is either bicycle, or you can drive it, because there is no public transportation out there. So nobody can get to that place to utilize it unless you drive it or you ride your bicycle out there. So it has deprived a lot of the residents of Denton from using it because of the distance out there. It's way out there. It's on the other side, north side of Loop 288 out there. So that's another problem. That's an example of squandering it. The classic, though, is my favorite sign down here on the corner of Bell and McKinney, that cost $143,000. That one sign, that's outrageous.
Well, to move on to another issue, you've been known around town for kind of helping start a petition to secure a certain portion of that tract of Fry Street to turn into a city park. And tell us about how that petition drive is going and what you would ultimately like to see in that area.
Well, Oh, the petition drive is going quite well. I should have brought that in. I didn't. I was going to read it to you. I don't like what is going on out there. Fry Street has a good history. That whole area out there does. And I can't see 4 stories worth of dormitories piled up there. And they said, well, we'll put some retail down on the first floor, and they've included approximately 10,000 feet, which is nothing for 4.5 acres. That's very little property. So I thought, well, what can we do? The other point out there is in that square block, there are 3 pieces of property that are still privately owned that United Equities does not own. So this Dinerstein has decided they're going to go get it. So they got 2 out of the 3, they say, on contract. Once again, don't see anybody changing the deeds. There may be some money that changed hands in order to take the contract. So nothing is settled out there. So the next problem is, what are we going to do with it? And I've always thought that open space out there would be marvelous to have a park. And kids used to hang out there all the time anyway until they bulldozed the building. So I thought, well, let's put a park out here, and then let's take 1.5 acres out of the 4.5 acres, which leaves you about 60,000 square feet of space. And let's put some retail in there and make the rest of it a park. So there are all kinds of ideas kicking around. So I went to the city and I said, you know, you ought to buy it. And they said, well, we don't have any money. Well, of course they have money. But they weren't interested in what I had to say. So rather than telling them that they have to buy it, we are just going to send them a petition under the initiative in the charter that allows us to petition the council to do something, is that they're to obtain that property. And we don't really care how they obtain it as long as it's legally done. Now they can either buy it, or they can trade it, or they can rezone it to make it to the point where they will be willing to sell it. And of course, if it's rezoned as a park, there's not much they're going to do with it except sit on it. Or they can even donate it to the city. There's all kinds of ways, trade outs, things that can be done to obtain the property.